We have Stephany Ann joining us from Oregon. We will be discussing relationships, the cycles of abuse, just a little bit of the stories and accomplishments, breaking free from those cycles. How are you doing today, Stephany?
Hi, Lisa. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on your show today.
Hey, everybody. This is Lisa, and this is the Conquered for Me podcast, bridging the gap between abuse and addiction, real life stories and real events that are happening.
With the Conquered for Me podcast.
Ready to fill your cup. Welcome to the podcast.
There is something terribly wrong in the system. Let's talk about narcissism and a narcissist and the difference.
Transformation meets truth. Advocacy takes center
stage. How are you doing today, Stephany?
Hi, Lisa. I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on your show today.
What do you do for your career?
Yeah, so my background is in law. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney for about 15 years, although I'm currently not practicing. But I also won the Governor's Award for my work in domestic violence many, many years ago. And it just kind of came full circle because, as an advocate in domestic violence and talking and advocating for victims of domestic violence about 20 plus years ago, was that time we weren't really focused on emotional or psychological abuse. We were really just focused on physical violence. But then what happens when you find yourself in a relationship and it doesn't fit the old traditional model of domestic violence? It's something else. And that's kind of where I found myself in these two marriages that felt really off. They didn't feel right, but I didn't know what it was because there wasn't really physical violence. And so that's kind of a little bit of my background and how I also ended up in two psychologically and emotionally abusive marriages, even though my background is in domestic violence. It's not on the surface, and it usually begins very subtle. And so you don't fully know that you're in the middle of it until you're pretty deep in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And for me, with my background in my marriages, I was married to two narcissists. And, again, 20, 15, even 10 years ago, we weren't talking about narcissistic abuse the way we are now, just in the past year and a half, how more people are coming out and more people are sharing their stories of the coercive control, the psychological and emotional abuse they went through, the gaslighting, the manipulation. And because of that, there's more talk about it and there's more awareness. But in my first marriage, there wasn't. And so, like I said, it didn't fit the traditional domestic violence model, but it was something else.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Anyone who's listening, just to let you know that if you are going through a really hard time right now and you're kind of contemplating and questioning your situation that you're currently in, you can feel free to reach out. The whole point of this podcast is to share real life stories, real life experiences, survivors of abuse. And so I met Stephany here because of her powerful story of breaking her narcissistic abuse.
Because so many of us, when we get out of these abusive relationships, especially with the narcissist, the narcissist relationship follows the typical cycle of the idealization, the phase, the devaluation, and then the discard. And for many of us, when we get out of these relationships, whether we've been discarded or we've found the courage within and we've left the relationships, we're really left with all these broken pieces of what just happened. And for a long time, I didn't know what had just happened. I'm like, what happened? What did I go through? How did I get here? How did my life go so terribly wrong? And for me, it was in that moment of, I was living in Florida with my family. My second husband and I, we had 6 kids together. We were a blended family, 6 little boys. And we were hit by Hurricane Ian. We lived right on the water. Our neighborhood was underwater. Our house was... We lost everything, and then he went on this narcissistic rage for 3 weeks, just tormenting and provoking, and it was just a scary nightmare is what it was. Yeah. And so when I left and walked away from him and went completely no contact, I'm still on no contact. I haven't talked to him in almost 2 years from the night that I walked away. I really realized that similarly to the way my house was destroyed by Hurricane Ian, my mind was also kind of destroyed in the same process that I went through of cleaning up the hurricane was the process I went through of cleaning up my mind. After so many years of gaslighting. And let me explain gaslighting, because so many people misuse gaslighting. Gaslighting is coercive control, and it is when someone manipulates you into believing and doubting your own perception of reality. And it can only happen in a trusted relationship. Now, parent-child, you can gaslight. Intimate partners in relationships that are intimate like that, between your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you can gaslight. Me as an attorney, and if you were my client, I could gaslight you. Yeah. Because we are in a trusted relationship. But just a bunch of randoms, no, that's not gaslighting. That's just straight up regular manipulation.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Would you say 2 years ago, what was your thought process when you were like getting ready to leave? Like what really did it for you? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, to kind of encourage our listeners. What did it for you to really be done, to be like, I can't keep doing this?
So when you first get into these relationships, narcissists are extremely charming, extremely wonderful. They really can see you. And when you're looking for relationships, you want to be seen. You want to be noticed. You want someone who's going to take an active interest in getting to know you. And narcissists are so good at that. They can work the room. They're beautiful people, many of them, in the beginning. And that's what we call the idolization phase. That's kind of the fairy tale, deepest, darkest secrets and insecurities with them, because they are good listeners. They show up, they text back, they call, they actively want to get to know you. And so it's really challenging when someone really sees you and hears you, that it's easy to overlook some of the red flags. It's easy to overlook some of the behaviors. Maybe they're drinking too much. Although my exes, they drank vodka and they hid it. I couldn't smell it, and I wasn't out there looking for it. And so what happens when you find someone who really sees you, you kind of feel like they're your soulmate. And so we shut off and we blind ourselves to maybe traits that they have that aren't the best, but we're like, we can work with that. And then what happens too is that a lot of us, we fall in love with their potential because we see so much potential in them. Wow, you could do this, you could do that, you could do so much with your life, and we can do it together. And so that's kind of the beginning. And then once they get you hooked, whether that is you're moving in together quickly, you're confessing your love to each other really quickly, because these relationships progress very fast, because they have to get you hooked. And once they get you hooked, where, like I said, they're proposing early, They want to move in early. They need to get you tied down with them quickly. Because then it's much harder to leave. And so for me, with my second husband, I'll talk about him just because he's the relevant one. It all happened very fast. And again, you know, we kind of had this soulmate connection. He was great. Everything I wanted to do, like he reflected back to me just all this beauty. And so that's the idolization phase. We moved in together quickly. We got married quickly. And actually we met and got married, moved in together in 2019. And everything was great for that year. Wonderful. We traveled together. We did all kinds of fun things. And then in 2020, when the world shut down, that's when his mask came off. And so what happens after the idolization phase is the devaluation phase. And this is where all the manipulation, all the gaslighting, this is where you hear people say, oh, they have this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality. You don't know which personality is going to present themselves that day. And that's where it starts to become very confusing, because you're like, wait a second, you were just so wonderful for the past year. What happened? And in my case, because everything coincided together with the world kind of on lockdown, it was very challenging to know, well, is this just the reaction from lockdown, from COVID-19, from all this stuff? I mean, the world was crazy back then. Remember how confusing it was? And so then if you have someone who takes their masks off during that time, it's like I didn't know if this was truly who he was, or if this was just a reflection of 2020 and everyone was a little crazy and a little off. And so it heightened the confusion. But here's what they do. They can't be mean, and they can't be in that devaluation phase all the time. Otherwise, no one would ever be with them. So they have to keep you guessing. So they go back and forth between idolization and devaluation and idolization, or what many people call love bombing. Love bombing. So they're mean, they're kind, they're mean, they're kind. And what that does is that forms a trauma bond. And a trauma bond is very similar to an addiction. Oh, yeah. Because we become addicted to the highs. Because when it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad. But when it's bad, we stay because we know it's going to get good again. And maybe we start to justify their behavior. Well, they had a bad day. Oh, his back hurts. Oh, he's stressed out. Oh, this and that. So we start justifying everything we do because we are stuck in this trauma bond and all this cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is when you hold two conflicting beliefs. So you have one belief over here that this guy is great. He's my soulmate. He's incredible. He's so loving and kind, and I feel so safe and secure with him. And then over on this side, you have this other belief during devaluation that, oh my God, he is a monster. He's horrible. He's a nightmare. He doesn't love me. I hate him. And so you have these two conflicting beliefs, and it's this cognitive dissonance that keeps us in the state of fog, in the state of confusion. And so leaving becomes a challenge